Would you like to reach our film and TV review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today. Welcome to filmandtvreview.com. Catch the latest film, TV and streamed show reviews every week. The views and opinions expressed by the authors and those providing comments are theirs alone. They do not reflect the views, opinions or position of filmandtvreview.com or their respective parent companies or affiliates. Filmandtvreview.com makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, correctness, suitability, or validity of any information in this program and is for entertainment purposes only. Episodes may contain adult humor and language. For full terms and conditions, see filmandtvreview.com.
Hello there, and welcome to our monthly edition of Film and TV Review, roundtable review of the latest and very busy releases in the last month. We're covering Mortal Kombat 2, Spider-Noir, the biopic Michael and Nadal, Daredevil, Born Again, was season 2, and The Boys, of course, reached its conclusion, as well as a few others. So, thanks. Well, I'm joined by Richard and Andrew. Welcome. We'll kick off, I think, with a big friendly release, Mortal Kombat 2, which based on the very violent video game, which had a Mortal Kombat 1 a few years ago. So Mortal Kombat 2, Carl Urban joins the cast as Johnny Cage, brought into the tournament to save the Earth. So, pretty self-explanatory from the title and the premise. So Richard, Andrew, first impressions of Mortal Kombat 2. Wasn't expecting much, but what did you think of this?
What did I think about Mortal Kombat 2? Well, you're right. Obviously, you shouldn't set the bar very high when you watch a movie called Mortal Kombat, obviously. But to be fair, again, it's a video game adaptation. So what would you expect from a video game adaptation? Let's put it this way. Would you want to be loyal to the source material, to the video game, or do you want to be like a masterpiece of a movie and taking liberties, or both? I think that the guys who did Mortal Kombat 1 and Mortal Kombat 2 now, they just want people to have fun and try to make something that the fans will enjoy, and that's it. They're not looking for anything else. And if that is the mission, I think that their mission is complete, or objective has been reached. It is kind of entertaining. Do I have to talk about the plot? I mean, that's Mortal
Not
Kombat.
really.
So who cares about the plot in Mortal Kombat, right?
It is really just a championship,
It's very dumb.
basically, of the best fighters from each plane are brought
And
together,
apparently,
and the
for
winner
some
takes
reason,
all.
if the bad guys win these martial arts tournaments, they rule the earth, and that's it. Well, that's obviously it's as dumb, as stupid as the plot of the video games. But the video games, you were not playing them in the 90s or the 80s because of the plot. You just wanted to enjoy people fighting each other and killing them 10 different ways. So
What?
Yeah, well, let's talk specifics to the obviously the fighting parts. The battles are okay. Nothing I remember particularly, to be honest. It's just sometimes fun to watch. It is kind of gross sometimes, but fair enough because Mortal Kombat is supposed to be gross. I mean, there is some
Yeah.
blood sometimes. Um, yeah, I think that the addition of Carl Urban is great to this movie compared to the first one. Carl Urban is he has become a very funny actor in his later years. It's actually coincidence that actually you're going to talk, guys, about The Boys later on.
Yeah.
Is actually in the second part of his career that he's showing a different face, a different aspect of his personality. So good for him. He's very funny in this role. But yeah, that's all. Yeah, I think that the movie is funny, but the acting is terrible for the rest of the cast, I believe.
Yeah.
The CGI are also from the 90s, in my opinion. But yeah, compared to all these video game adaptations that we have so many video game adaptations coming in the next few years, but already been released in the last few years. It's not definitely not one of the best, but it's not one of the both worst. It's just okay. It's okay.
Yeah, it is one of the hardest balancing acts to get, and I think we've through decades of getting a video game adapted into a film that works, but this kind of does it, and Carl Urban definitely adds the humor and the tongue in cheek, so you don't take things too seriously. It's very knowing, which is gives it a license to get away with what it does, but the choreography, the fighting's all done well. I think it's kind of like it takes itself, the fight, these aspects that should be taken seriously, it does. And it does it with the fighting and it does it.
Don't you think they could have done better with the fighting? I mean, what I mean is that the Mortal Kombat awful movies of the 90s came before movies like the Matrix trilogy or things like that,
Mm.
but they kind of redefined what martial arts should be. This is kind of very
Well,
easy, to be
I
honest, compared
think they've
to.
decided to go more the comedic route and more
Okay.
kind of like banding together and character because I think there's been a lot of character work in this, surprisingly. It's not like the previous film where you've had some very good actors whom some great cameos who make a reappearance here, which is credit to it, and very good actors who given a lot of character beats in there and dialogue and almost like a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of like little banter going on, so which is like a lot given to it. So the fighting in maybe is just small set pieces, but it's ironically not the most important part of this film, but it is. I think it's a hard job to do, and then they kind of manage it. So I mean, the writing's not the best, but it's bit per functionally the plot, but it's more dialogue heavy than I thought, and it's entertaining and it's done okay, but I think it's a very hard job to do, and it just about crosses the line of it, and it's better than the first one. I think it's just getting
Oh
that
yeah,
balance
I
right,
agree.
which is
I agree.
strange, but it is.
I agree, though. I watched the first one before we were watching.
Mm.
The only thing that I miss on the first one is that we don't see much of this Japanese actor. I already forgot his name.
Yeah, yeah,
Damn it! Every time I forget his name, I'm so sorry about it.
yeah.
Uh,
But
he's in many English-speaking movies in the last 10, 15
and
years.
a great actor. I mean, he can just is from the body language, everything.
Hiroyuki Sanada. Sorry, my pronunciation.
Who I think started off the first one where you start off a kind of a preamble and his story, and
Yeah,
it was fantastic because it looked like, my God, this looks like a serious epic piece,
yeah.
and then it gets sidelined. But then he makes a reappearance here, but it is more of a comic book fashion here kind of thing. But yeah, like I said, good actors and just yeah. So it's more like a fun B movie, really. But so
Exactly.
I mean,
And there will be a third one, by the way, because
I,
I think that he made enough money to get a third one
hmm.
greenlighted. Or it will make enough money.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. They're likable. I mean, it was likable, and some good side characters as well. Kind of nice humor with when they meet a village. This kind of like of trying to get into the castle. They befriend a kind of like a kind of like servant class, a monster servant class. But they kind of that was a good kind of like kind of fish out of water kind of thing. But anyway, Andrew, you saw this as well.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Uh, yes, it's kind of a interesting example for me for a couple of reasons. Because, as I mentioned, I'm a bit older, and I remember seeing the 1995 film in cinemas, and that was really exciting to see. That was back when video game, film adaptations of video games was something relatively new, and seeing on the big screen and the characters that you know from the games, and it's like, oh look, it's Sub-Zero and
Yeah.
like, oh cool,
It played to the fans here,
like,
definitely.
oh, and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and now it's like, oh,
Get over
Sub-Zero
here.
and Scorpion in a Mortal Kombat movie. It's like so. And the other thing is, I rewatched the first of the new movies. I mean, the reboot from a few years ago. I rewatched it just before seeing this, and it's this weird thing where you watch that one, and it's probably one of the few cases where usually if people want to watch a sequel, I'll say you watch the previous movie first or whatever. This is probably one case where I would probably tell them not to do that, because
Really?
they watch that one and it's very much focused on this character called Cole, who's not canon to the games. And
Yes,
they did a whole.
you're right. You're right. I wanted to mention that. I forgot. Yes, it's so weird. But actually, the hero of the first movie, spoiler alert, is maybe 30 seconds or 2 minutes in the second movie, and he dies like like a bee.
He's so much of a
It's so
focus in
weird.
the first movie. You meet his family, and you find out that
Yeah, you're right.
Spoiler-
You're right.
He does
spoiler
mention
alert.
his family, and then he's like, "Oh, don't."
Yeah,
Then you kind of
definitely
think,
the hero's journey. He is the one who actually is having it in the first movie. He's the no one, and he finds out about all this world, and we see this world through his eyes, etc.
Yeah.
And he gets his own power. So you think this guy is gonna be the new Neo or Luke Skywalker of this trilogy? No, 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 no. He dies after 5 minutes.
Yeah, or at least you think that he's going to be some canon character or something,
Absolutely,
but he's
absolutely.
not. They even did a joke about that in about the previous film in the Roy video. It's like, why do a new character? Why not just take a canon character and make that person the audience surrogate or whatever? And I forget what reason they said, whatever. But yeah, Cole, who spoiler alert, is the descendant of Scorpion. And so you think that's going to be a pretty significant thing through
Absolutely.
the franchise. And then, as Richard said, Cole dies early on in this film. And it's like, well, what's the point of watching the previous film? It's a whole previous film. I didn't have to rewatch it. I could have just dove right in, and it wouldn't.
That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought about that during the movie, but now I forgot about. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that in this one, they made Johnny Cage the audience surrogate, and he is a canon character to the video game. So it's like, why couldn't they have done that from the beginning if they were going to do this anyway? Why make a whole film about some character you're just going to discard?
It is like it's a franchise that actually listened to an audience reactions and actually re-navigated to what they want, and it's kind of which I think films are doing a lot more now. I think they're listening a bit more from it seems that way anyway, but it's certainly evident in this one where it is as clumsy as these U-turns are, it is doing it, which is like, and I think it's paid off. So yeah, credit to them going in this direction or right direction. It is a bit of a more of a B movie, but it is delivering a product, let's say, to an audience that want it. Anyway, right. Next, we have more of a cartoon canon character, Spider-Man, or part of the Spider-Man, well, say multiverse, let's say, and that is Amazon's Spider Noir, which played by Nicolas Cage himself. It's a TV show on Amazon, which is so this character made their appearance in the Spider-Verse, as in there were multiple versions of the titular character Spider-Man, and this one is a kind of like a gumshoe kind of 1930s private eye, but with some spider abilities. So it's quite a very unique character and an eye-catching one. So it began, I think, released a few weeks ago. I called it. It's quite visually great and also available in, well, two versions, color and black and white. which is very inventive and got me switching between both versions in between a scene. So far, yeah, I've seen about 2 or 3 episodes. I'm enjoying it. It's put together and good to see Nicolas Cage doing television, and I think he adapts to it quite well. Andrew, you saw this as well. What do you think? What's your opinion of Spider Noir?
Yeah. First off, this version of Spider Noir is
Mm.
apparently not the same one that appears in those movies. Because the one who appears in those movies is, I guess, called Peter Parker, and this character is called Ben Reilly. So he's like
Mm.
not just an alternate version of Spider-Man, but an alternate version of Spider Noir, which is even more confusing. I know, but that's what it is. And just to be clear, I saw this in black and white. I didn't choose the color option. I think that's how it's meant to be seen anyway.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful in black and white from the scene that's what it is happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very fitting that way because it plays upon a lot of the film noir tropes, the character or characters with shady pasts, the femme fatale, criminal underworld, and all this dark feeling that literally and figuratively that kind of permeates throughout, but set in a reality when superpowered beings exist. And just to set up the story, Ben Reilly, the protagonist, is played by Nicolas Cage, and he's a veteran of, I guess, this reality's version of the First World War. And so he, without going to the whole backstory about that, too many spoilers, he gained superpowers, abilities of the spider. He became a crime-fighting figure known as the Spider, not Spider-Man, the Spider. And he was also a day job as a private investigator. And so when the story begins, it's been 5 years since he gave that up because he lost, it's kind of a common theme throughout any kind of Spider-Man-esque character, Spider-Person character, that they lose someone that they care about. So he's lost someone he's cared about 5 years previously to the beginning of the program. So he has given up temporarily being the Spider, being a lot of what he had been because of that. So it picks up 5 years after he's lost this person close to him, and he's given up being the Spider, and he's still doing the private investigating. He's down on his luck, I guess. He can't even pay his secretary, name's Janet Ruiz, and there's, that set up more of the story. There's this criminal who kind of runs things in this alternate version of New York City, and that is Silvermane, as known in the comics, Brendan Gleeson. Yep. And this version of Silvermane is Finbar Byrne. So he ultimately takes up, and it's not really much of a spoiler to say that he takes up the mantle of the Spider, of the superhero crime fighter again, because of a series of circumstances. He's trying to solve the case. The person who hires him in his day job, I guess, as a private investigator, is a woman named Kat Hardy, played by Lee Jun Lee. And you see some of her singing in this program. She's a singer in real life in this show. And so she kind of fills a kind of femme fatale role and hires Ben Reilly to do this job for her. And so you get to know this world of superpowered beings, but set in this film noir setting. And you deal with all the criminals and Silvermane and his criminal organization. And you learn about the mayor of New York City in this reality, Alfred Morris, who's running for re-election, and some shady stuff that's going on with him. So it's kind of like, I guess, like a Batman-esque type thing, but with Spider-Man, not Batman. So it's kind of interesting, too, that Nicolas Cage was once, decades ago, supposed to play Superman, and now here he is in other superhero franchises, playing Spider-Man or some version of the Spider-Man or the Spider. He was in Kick-Ass. He was in the Ghost Rider films. Say what you want about those. So it's interesting that he does all these other superhero things, just not Superman. So kind of interesting how his career has turned out. So I think he does a good job here. And he does a lot of these weird kind of movements, because I guess in this version, his abilities come with this downside of him trying to imitate movements of a spider instead of like a human being. So he has to remember that he is a human being. He goes to the movies in universe cinema to see other people up on the cinema screen to kind of understand how it is to be human, to keep in touch with his humanity, literally. So that's something that kind of plays throughout the series. And he has all these weird movements sometimes that seem awkward. Like he kind of jerks his limbs and all that. And that's him sort of like trying to be like a spider. And then he has to be like, no, I'm a human. So that's something interesting. And if they do continue this program, I'd like to see more of that. So there's definitely a lot of shady stuff going on and other superpowered people that you encounter. Something familiar with our alternates from the main continuity of the comics. So like, Tombstone and
Sandman, Marco Clint, and I was surprised they actually had. I was thinking it's just going to be kind of like more a period piece, but you've actually got the other villains in there who you recognize. But it's all realized really well, and but it is a period piece, and it looks gorgeous. And I think this is really. I think Nicolas Cage had stayed away from TV, but I saw an interview and he was saying that he'd kind of done everything with films, that he's done action and all these different genres. He kind of like he's done that, but so television, he thought, okay, this would be kind of interesting. Let's see what with this medium, and I think he has enjoyed it. This kind of more longer narrative. So for him, it's been quite interesting as an actor. He as in this medium for him, from what I understand from the interview he gave. So yeah, hopefully there'll be a season 2 of this, and it is gorgeous to look at, whatever version. And like I said, I was flipping between the two because you want to see it in black and white. And black and white, it looks beautiful as well. But and the color, I guess the color as well. It's great palettes to use that. They've kind of boosted up the color here and there, so it is whatever version you see it in. It's lovely to watch.
Okay, I just wanted to interject one other thing because I think there was some confusion, and I don't think this is too spoilery, but there's a character who has like electrical powers, and that character is Megawatt, not Electro. So I think there was some confusion early on. People thought it was Electro or some version of that character, and it's actually a different character called Megawatt. Similar type powers, but just different character.
Yeah, I mean there is some little changes here and there, but it's almost it is its own thing. I can actually just see it as its own thing outside the Spider-Verse, which is quite refreshing actually. And it is on Amazon, not Disney here. This
Right, same here, Amazon, and also in the US it's on some other streamer called MGM Plus. I don't think people have that one, but they do have Prime, so they can certainly watch it there. So
right. Next, we've got a biography which hit the cinemas. That was Michael Jackson. It's done actually quite well in the box office. So I think it is directed by Antoine Fuqua, and it has actually started in the signature role his nephew, I think Jafar Jackson, playing. So they kind of like this does follow obviously the rise of Michael Jackson. So it is played by just two actors in his formative years, the was part of the Jackson 5, and then his more height of his success by his nephew. It is a big budget biopic and had to, of course, do quite a few reshoots, but it is very much a celebratory movie, more about almost semi-pop video. But well, Richard, you saw this. So what, as a movie, what did you think? More about biography, of course, but what did you think of it?
So first of all, yeah, it is extremely successful, by the way. As I can see, it might actually cross the $1 billion mark actually by the end of his career on movie theaters, let's say. I think it reached more than 100 million already. It is the second highest gross film of the year, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it is a success, box office wise for sure. Now the movie itself, well, as you said, it is kind of the rise of Michael Jackson because it focuses on his early years as the leader of the Jackson 5, and then not really slow career actually. That's actually the second part of the movie is, well, spoiler alert, but when it's a biopic, I'm fine talking about spoilers because it's a biopic, it's a true story, and it's something that someone that everybody knows. So it is kind of ending on his solo path, when he starts a solo path, let's say. And it's the main subject of this movie is more about his obviously his rise as a superstar, but more importantly, perhaps his relationship to people around you, to his family, to his father, and to his kind of trying to separate himself from his father, who is not, well, I don't know if I can say violence, but definitely not the best father, not the best father of the year. He needs to grown up literally and be his own man. He keeps saying that in the movie, and in a way, that's what he manages to do by the end of the movie. If you focus on this plot that I just mentioned, I think it's a good movie. It made me think, the first half of the movie made me think a lot about, there was a TV show. I don't know if you know about this, guys. There was a TV show in the 90s. I don't know if it's called the Jackson 5 or something, but I definitely remember it when I was a kid watching it, and it was focused on the Jackson 5. So I need to Google this to find out. I never took the time since I watched the movie. And it is kind of similar. It tries to show the rise of these guys and the very difficult education that they have to go through because of their father. But in a way, he's been very strict, to say the least. But perhaps actually that he can be, this guy can be proud of what he has accomplished. But I'm not sure that you can say that he's a good father for sure. But anyway, there was a great TV show about the Jackson 5, and it made me think about that. For what is worth, I think that Jafar Jackson is doing a great job at trying to look like his own uncle. My problem is not about this movie, but and I keep saying that in this podcast. My problem with biopics is that biopics, for me, it's acting in a biopic is not real acting. That's my personal opinion. It's just someone who watches another guy on videotape for thousands of hours and try to look like him and imitate him. And that's what that Jafar Jackson must have done that. He must have spent hours and hours trying to do the choreographies and the movements that Michael Jackson was doing on stage and try to almost do his voice, etc. So for that, he did a great job. But is it acting? I don't know. I don't think so, but that's a personal opinion. And I said the same thing for Rami Malek when he did Bohemian Rhapsody, Freddie Mercury. I was a huge fan of Queen, but I didn't think it was that amazing. But anyway, like Bohemian Rhapsody, by the way, I think it's a great cinematic experience because obviously it's Michael Jackson and every single song of Michael Jackson is eternal, and you just need like 5 seconds listening to 5 seconds of the song, of the music, and you're already dancing, already singing with the crowd. So it's always going to work. And it was a safe bet, this movie. Obviously, it would be enjoyed by millions and millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions of people around the world. And because that guy was a legend of the 20th century, obviously, because I need to address the elephant in the room, obviously, there was apparently a 3-hour also cut of this movie that was reduced to 2 hours and was supposed to actually to focus on more than just his rise, but also the 90s and 2000s. And I'm guessing that this 3-hour cut was also focusing on things about the allegations and the problems that he has with justice. And these things are not obviously talked about in this movie. That being said, there are lot of parts actually in this movie where Antoine Fuqua decided to talk about his Peter Pan syndrome, which is a real syndrome that someone actually doesn't want to grow up. But it's obviously shown in a very cute way. If there is gonna be, and since it's gonna break all the records, there will be a sequel. There's a huge question mark of what's gonna be the sequel about, because obviously the second part of Michael Jackson until his death, I think in 2009, is definitely not as let's say not as glamorous and extraordinary for musical reasons, but maybe for all the wrong reasons. But I don't know. We'll see if they want to stay let's say realistic and do a complete portrayal of this guy, or they're gonna try to show to what the fans want to see and only what the fans want to see. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a good question mark, but I don't know.
It's a good question mark, yeah. But I can see it is the way it's cut. It is and restructured because of those. I think, as you say, they had reshot it, and because of the expense, they had to reshoot it. But it's and restructure it, so it by default then becomes a celebratory, almost concert movie. Quite honestly, and the arc is really about his independence from his dad. But I think for the best performance comes from Cole Domingo as the dad, who's
Oh yeah,
absolutely
Command Domingo.
terrifying.
Always. Command Domingo is such an underrated actor. Every time I see him, he's amazing in everything I see him.
I was surprised in this, as in because the tone, you get the tone very quickly. This is basically the highlights and very sugar gloss version, but it is like a pop video. But it is a great for him. The depth and the darkness is of the psyche and right what he's. It is scary every time he came under the screen, the body language, and that's kind of like oof. So it kind of like gave a bit of weight to this, I think. But afterwards, I mean, it does end on a high, and it is, and I think members of the audience were dancing in the aisles. Like, you just see it, and I think it's been happening in this kind of in theaters. So it's become a very concert movie, really. But yeah, whether it can really, I don't see what's left to do in a sequel or something. There's a lot of documentaries that are actually around right now, with even in the UK, definitely with Janet Jackson. So if you want a bit more in depth, I think suggest you watch those, and because it is interesting and it's an interesting life. Certainly as a showbiz life.
I was thinking after watching it, I was thinking that this guy, and that's why the movie is well done, is that he shows actually that he might be the greatest star, no matter if you like his music or not, the greatest music star who ever lived, compared to all the stars in every kind of over genre, rock and roll, rap, or whatever. He might be actually the greatest music star ever when you think about it. And even from over generations, I was thinking that he was a huge success in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, etc. And I'm pretty sure that people who were born after his death will still enjoy his music. But people in 50 years from now will listen to Michael Jackson, will still dancing on his tunes, which quite saying something. But the thing is that also, if you are an icon, you have to be also kind of tragic to create this image of an icon. What I mean is that in a way, somehow, this guy encapsulates, he has all the different parts in his life that creates an icon, all the good and the bad. There are a lot of things, there are a lot of controversies about his life. He's definitely different from any other guy in this world as well, because of what's going on through his mind, etc. He has some unique talents, and he died quite younger than he should have died. He died kind of young in the end, not even, he was only 50 years old or whatever, and he died in a very abrupt and sudden way. When you think about it, this is all the, let's say, all the thing that you need to check to become an icon, all the good and the bad. So that's why it's surprising in a way that we didn't get a big blockbuster movie about Michael Jackson before 2026, because he is perfect for a dramatic, extraordinary movie when you think about it.
Right. Next, from one legend to another, we have another biopic. It's Nadal. I think this is a documentary, I'm guessing, Richard.
Yes.
This is for Netflix.
It's a mini series / documentary. Yeah, and it was released in May 29. So it's not because I'm a huge fan of tennis, because I just believe actually that the documentary is quite amazing. To keep short, for anyone who doesn't know anything about tennis, we have been living in the last 20 years in kind of a strange era, because we have three literally of the best players of all time living at the same generation. And one after the other, they are retiring, obviously, because they're all reaching 40 or 40 plus years old. So 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, there was a Federer documentary on Amazon that was pretty amazing about also his retirement called 12 Final Days or 12 Days. And now it's the turn of Nadal, who retired 12 or 18 months. And I'm pretty sure that we're going to get, if it was Amazon for Federer and we had Netflix for Nadal, I don't know, perhaps HBO will get Djokovic when he retires next year or 2 years from now. I don't know who's going to get the documentary of the Djokovic. The Nadal miniseries, so it's not only an hour, it's like 4 hours long in the end. It goes through the behind the scenes from the season of 2024, his last season, but also through his eyes, etc., of this last season. Sorry. And also obviously through many flashbacks from his rise as a teenager all the way to the top, the different parts of his sporting career. But it has some very extraordinary moments, not sporting part, but also, but more importantly, the how do you say, the will of this guy, his commitment to the sport. I have never seen an athlete in any sport having such a commitment to what he does for a living. And it made me think about Ayrton Senna. There was a documentary about Ayrton Senna 15 years ago or so. There was also a miniseries on Netflix recently about Ayrton Senna in Formula One, and kind of similar. You have these guys who, more than only they are extremely talented at what they do, they also want to give not the 100% to what they do, but 1,000%, and even risk their own lives to do what they do. And that's what the Nadal documentary is more than anything else about. That this guy has been playing with his health since he was a teenager just to play tennis. And fortunately for him, first of all, he didn't end up in a wheelchair in the end, and he did actually win almost 100 ATP titles. I have no idea how he did it, because compared to all the greatest of all time, Björn Borg, John McEnroe, Federer, Nadal, Sampras, or whoever, he's been able to win 90% of his titles on one foot and on one leg. And I'm not even kidding. He's been diagnosed with a broken foot in 2005. So he was like 20 years old. He didn't win anything. And he said, I will still compete at the highest level. 10 years later, at the middle of his career, he was diagnosed with a broken knee. And he says, it's fine, just give me painkillers. And he keeps going on, and he won like 10 more Roland Garros. This is crazy. It's not a good example, to be honest, but obviously, but it's crazy that you have a guy like this who actually shows that the mental strength is greater than anything else. A bit like Ayrton Senna. Unfortunately, Ayrton Senna, it ended up with his death. But in a way, I don't know if it's a good example for your kids, to be honest. But it's it's quite extraordinary when you see what he's been through. You have even more respect. I have more respect even now for Nadal, and I was always been a Federer fan. But I'm always a big fan of documentaries about sports achievements, but this is another level.
Thanks. Right. Next, we have a popular genre now of late. I think it is the indie horror supernatural genre, and this obviously had its roots back online, which is I think maybe a Reddit thread, but it's Backrooms, which has a movie of all things out of it. Of course, Backrooms, they're not familiar. It's this kind of like more ghostly maze of yellow rooms. And here we have the movie out of it, where the owner of a furniture store finds a secret doorway that leads him into an endless stretch of rooms, and then he almost disappears, and then I think the mystery unsolves there. So I think this is a 20-year-old director of this, really. I haven't seen this, but I heard really great things about this. Andrew, you've seen this.
Right.
How does this translate as a film?
Yeah, I'm not sure if other of you have seen the videos that he's done on YouTube.
No, not yet. I'm just not familiar, but I've seen obviously the clips that were everywhere online is very I mean, it was everywhere. Obviously, the back rooms are this kind of very kind of like creepy maze. A couple
Criminal
of
State.
shorts, and then this is kind of phenomena that we had. But haven't seen his work actually
Mhm.
post that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess this started out as a story. Well, actually, pictures, and then a story on Creepypasta
Mm.
on one of those sites. And then from that, it became these videos that he did, that Kane Parsons did. And they are on YouTube. And the fairly short videos, they can go from 5 to maybe 10, 15 minutes long. Some are a little bit longer, like 40 something minutes. And they're all in this, it's a lot of world building, a lot of story building. And I have a feeling that this story is set in that same continuity as those videos. At least that's the sense I got. You don't have to see the videos beforehand, although I imagine many people have. But there's definite nods to stuff from the videos in this film. And also, he did a series of videos, different continuity, called The Oldest View, similar concept. And I kind of felt there were nods to that in this film as well, even though it's a different continuity. That's just my impression. So in this film, which he directed, Kane Parsons, and you have some name actors. You have Chiwetel Ejiofor
Yeah. Mm.
and Renate Rensve, if I pronounced it
Ah,
correctly. Yeah.
she's in Backrooms.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, she's in.
Ah.
I'm really surprised with the casting in this because it was
Oh.
like,
No,
whoa.
as I said before we started program, I said I never heard about this movie, but okay, and it's funny because I watched The Worst Person in the World like a few days ago, so okay, I didn't know she
Oh,
was in.
Yeah. Impressive cast.
the videos on YouTube were actually very, very popular. Like, I think the first of the Backrooms videos he did on YouTube has like something like 80 million views or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Huge.
And the other ones, they don't have that many, but they definitely have a lot of many millions of views. So there's definitely an audience for this. And the movie had a big opening last weekend, I guess. So anyway, in this film, you have the two, I guess, main characters, Clark, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, who owns a furniture store and has had some issues in his past. And you have his therapist, played by Renate Rensve. Her name is Mary Klein, I believe. And she's a therapist, but she also has some issues in her past. So you have these two characters' stories, as well as the continued world building from, I guess, started in the videos of the world of the Backrooms that Kane Parsons has been doing for the last few years. So the concept of these liminal, big open indoor spaces and just the creepiness that just comes from that, not even from just creatures or that kind of thing. And there's that as well, but just that kind of open, big open indoor spaces and just endless spaces. And each one just gets creepier and creepier. And so what happens in the film is Clark, who owns this furniture store, he discovers that in the cellar level, I guess what you call the basement in the US, there's an entryway somehow to this other world that looks similar to ours, of these indoor big open spaces, open rooms, and they just keep going and going. And once he goes to the other side, the first room seems a little weird, but then he goes further and further, and each room seems weirder and weirder, and then he encounters weirder and weirder things. And he tells his therapist about it. His therapist is sort of like skeptical, and then therapist, the one who is played by Renate Rensve, Mary. So Clark wants to go get proof to show her, to show other people that these things exist. And he takes a couple of his, I guess, coworkers, his colleagues, into this other side, other world of the back rooms. And that's when things just kind of really take a turn. There's also the company that exists in this continuity, both in the videos and in this movie, called Async Research. And you get a little bit more information about them and what's going on with them. So a little bit more about these stories, about the movie, about the videos online, is they're set in the late 80s, early 1990s. And so a lot of these things are done with kind of a found footage format, but done given the technological limitations of when they're set. So they're not done through like a mobile device. Those things didn't exist back then. They're done through like camcorders. So it's kind of it's found footage, but given the time frame in which these stories are set, late 80s, early 1990s, and a very kind of grainy look with tracking and all that, if you're old enough to remember stuff from like VCRs and that kind of thing. So I thought the world building, the continual world building was really good, and imagery, the look of the films, it looks very much from like the time period of its setting, early 1990s, late 80s, and just kind of like how something would look if someone recorded it from that time period. It's not all found footage, but parts of it are. And also the characters and their stories, without giving spoilers, is I thought that was interesting. That being said, I kind of feel a little bit underwhelmed when it got to the ending, just because I thought things were just kind of getting interesting in terms of the world building. I noticed with the videos, you kind of have these YouTube videos that the director has done, the story, you watch a few minutes and then there's some more. If you miss here, if you miss there, continued world building. I think this is like the start of a story, and I have a feeling based on the box office, there's going to be more. I mean, I kind of got that feeling anyway, even before looking at the box office. So I just kind of feel like that there's more to this story, and that things just kind of are starting to get underway. And then there's this character who you kind of see throughout the film briefly, and then you're introduced to the character, and then things just kind of, you don't get more of the story. And I'm thinking like, okay, well, the movie just ends where it ends. Where's the rest of the story? Where's it going? And that's why I kind of felt a little underwhelmed. It's like, what's there is good, but it's not a complete story. It's like, there's definitely more. I'm sure that there's more that the director wants to tell. That's just the way that these things are. So that's why I kind of felt a little underwhelmed. I think also because there's similar horror film for this audience at the same time, and then you have people who really love that film and see this and they like it, but do they love it? So I thought this was all right, what's there, but I just kind of felt that Backrooms, the story's not complete yet. So
fair enough. But a good effort, I think, from the director. I think he was quite young there, but maybe we'll see what comes in the future. Right, next. Back to the comic book world, and this is Daredevil. I think season 2 of Born Again. This is taking its cue from the Netflix series originally. There was the writers and creators of that, which of course follows the vigilante Daredevil from the Marvel Universe. Charlie Cox again returns, and Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk. Joined by those regulars. So if you love those characters and the portrayal of those characters, I think it follows a through line here. So it is following the background of New York as Wilson Fisk, or as a crime lord kingpin underneath, in the shadows. It is kind of like a crime drama of sorts, but it's if you're familiar with the character, it's one of those good versions of a Marvel classic, everywhere well played out, certainly from the Netflix version. And here we kind of like it's follows their kind of like war over New York's soul almost in this series. It's good performances. I think this is this series' main strengths. Andrew, you saw this. It's not a bad series, this one, is it? I think they found their footing here, I think.
Yeah, the second series or second season, whichever you want to call it. The first season had a lot of retooling behind the scenes because of what happened, and they worked on it for a bit, and then they stopped because of the strikes, and then started up again, and then they retooled it. So the first season feels a little bit not really, almost like disjointed. Really, like a story here, a story there. Good for what was, but definitely behind the scenes drama. Here it's more connected. They didn't have that issue for the second season or series. And because there's definitely a lot of stuff that goes on with Wilson Fisk, the mayor of New York City, and how he's kind of doing some very bad things using his position as mayor of the city to get away with criminal activity. There's also some bits that are and this is not necessarily intentional. This is just adapting from the comics, but living in the U.S., there's some bits that are kind of on the nose just in terms of what exactly he's doing as mayor of, or in his position of power, and the using the anti-vigilante task force to do things to round up people, citizens, and people that he disagrees with. And you see parallels of what's going on in the U.S. with like the ICE agents and that whole thing. So again, that's not necessarily intentional. This is just adapting from the comics, but it's interesting that it's coming out now, and people in the U.S. kind of say, "Yeah, this looks kind of similar to what's going on with certain other leadership in the U.S." I'll just leave it at that. In terms of what else is going on, there's a story of there's the continued stories of the other characters of the show, of the resistance to the mayor and his leadership, led by Daredevil Matt Murdock, but also Karen Page and what she's up to leading the resistance. There's also Matt Murdock's ex-girlfriend, Heather Glenn, and her issues of what's going on, and it's building up to a story there. She's working for the mayor, so sort of like her start of darkness. There's also the henchperson Buck Cashman, and his thing. There's also I don't remember the son of James Gandolfini, Michael Gandolfini, who plays a character who worked for the mayor, and his story. Daniel Blake. Yeah. So you got his story, and that's going on. BB Urich, who's the niece of someone who we saw in the original run on Netflix, and then of course the wife of Wilson Fisk, Vanessa, Dex, Bullseye, his thing, and he's on this season as well.
Yeah,
and of course you have Jessica Jones, who's on it as well.
Yeah. A lot of characters, a lot of going for the arc. So it's great that they actually get observed in this. There's a lot to fit in, actually. But I think for me, it was definitely good to see Jessica Jones making her cameo, and for a few episodes.
Yeah, she doesn't appear as much as
No, but she's kind of like she's almost like, hey, I wouldn't mind seeing another Jessica Jones series. But for me, I think the highlight, strangely enough, I mean, it is. I think strangely enough, it's Benjamin Poindexter, or Bullseye, who's basically the big side henchman, but villain or an arch nemesis of Daredevil on the kind of like
he's more an
villain front. Yeah, but he kind of becomes more. He goes through his own arc and becomes this kind of like now retoored anti-hero kind of thing. So it takes its time, but it is very much, obviously, it starts where he's killed his best friend at the beginning. This is how this kicks off this series from the previous one. But it is, and I think in previous incarnations you can see him as a kind of a hired mercenary and kind of the antithesis of a Daredevil. But here they're kind of like they all go through their own personal journey, and it's. He comes out the other side, and I think, oh, he became a very interesting character. Strangely enough, you'd think very more two-dimensional, but he goes through his own problems, and he's comes out the other side. So I found that kind of highlight. And you mentioned Daniel, who goes through his own kind of like I suppose apocalypse now kind of journey with Fisk, and then finds his own way, or he resolves it in his own way. But yeah, a lot of character work here.
Yeah, it also ties into the rest of the MCU through the character played by Matthew Lillard. You've seen in other things, so
that's CIA agent.
Ultimately ties into the larger MCU. So that's another thing in addition to everything else. So
yeah, a lot of threads there, and a good climax of this show. Actually, it's quite grand. You're thinking, well, how for a TV show you don't really, but a nice, I'd say, a set piece in the mayor's office or wherever they hold it. It's a nice staging. I thought, oh, this is a nice conclusion of a set piece kind of thing. It feels grand, but it is more of a character drama, I think. But a lot going on here, so I did enjoy it. So I wouldn't mind, actually. I think now you can see it's found its kind of path, or it's more of a stable kind of like writing team who's there from the beginning to end. I think they've done what they wanted to do, but I do hope, I wouldn't mind another show, because this is Disney now, obviously, but It's yeah, it's a worthy successor to the Netflix show or when it was there. But so I wouldn't mind another season of this. So
I
anyway,
have a question.
yes.
I have a question. Is it still worth watching this TV show? These TV shows actually from the MCU? I mean,
This one,
is it different? Is it different from any other MCU TV show?
have you watched the Daredevil on Netflix?
Yeah, the Netflix ones, the Jessica Jones, the Luke Cage back in the day.
Oh, so for you, it might be. I mean, I can't speak for other MCU stuff. I can only speak for this specifically. It's worth it to watch.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not talking about other stuff in the MCU content. It's like saying Andor and Star Wars. So this is good. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. So
Yeah, I'd leave it at that as well. But it is basically judge it as the show by itself. It stands by itself. Remove
okay,
it from the, don't link it just judge it as a show, and that's it. You don't need to see anything before or after. It's like, hey, this is entertaining and a lot of depth in more character work. So it's a kind of crime drama. So and that's what its strength has been, quite honestly. It's standing alone by itself.
Okay.
So yeah, and good performances by some pretty good actors who know their character and enjoying the work. Okay, next we're back to the indie horror, I suppose, or thriller genre, which is doing really well. Big good word of mouth on this, and this is I think from Bloomhouse Studios. This is Obsession, uh, a supernatural kind of like I suppose careful what you wish for, supernatural horror. Andrew, you've seen this, so just give me a little premise of this, those who haven't seen it. We won't be
um,
too
yeah,
spoilery here, but
uh,
we'll see. We quickly see whether it is worth word of mouth.
yeah, because it does look like it has like a rollout internationally.
Yeah.
Some focus features, and then Blumhouse you mentioned. It just started out very much indie, and it started out have a debut at the Toronto Film Festival a year ago. And I'm not going to spoilers yet, but okay, sure. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess I won't do too many spoilers.
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, but yeah, I generally liked it. Do I love it as much as the? Because when I first saw it, the Rotten Tomatoes score was like 100%. I'm very close to it. I was like,
Hmm.
it's not quite that good, but I'll be like, it's very good. It's I don't know if I would call it perfect because it does go into some of the tropes of people in horror films making less than ideal decisions. I'll just leave it at that. But what makes the film really work is the performance. So just to get the story rolling, it's the story of this guy whose nickname is Bear. That's the character's name. He's played by Michael Johnston, and he really likes this girl, part of his group of friends. There's one girl he likes as more than just a friend. Her name is Nikki, and she's played by Indy Navarrete, and she was also on Superman and Lois as Lana Lang's daughter. And so he makes this wish using this novelty item that he finds in his shop. It's called One Wish Willow, and so he makes a wish for her to basically fall in love with him, and things basically go downhill from there. So maybe not so much in an obvious way at first, but eventually they do. And again, I'm not too sure about what things are spoilers and what aren't, because there's certain things that the director, Curry Barker, talked about before the film's release, and the actress, Indy Navarrete, talked about as well, in terms of what makes this story different than similar stories of, yeah, because this story has been done before. I've seen it on Tales from the Crypt back in the day, decades ago. Have someone fall in love with them and it doesn't work out, putting it mildly. What makes this story different? And what makes this story different is that the performance of Indy Navarrete as the character of Nikki, but the way that this character is portrayed, it's not simply that, oh, someone makes a wish and that's that. It's that something happens after the wish is made, and it's something that happens to the object of that wish. And that's kind of how the performance is played going forward. So it's not simply, oh, okay, I make a wish for someone to fall in love with me and they fall in love with me. That's kind of that. There's something that happens, the nature of the wish making and the spell making, such that the character who's the object of the wish becomes literally spellbound. So that's something that happens in the film, that it's not simply a matter of, making a wish and then having it go bad, something that happens to the object of that wish. So the actress does a really good job of playing someone who's kind of stuck in this situation. And as a result, there's talk about maybe awards down the line. We'll see. It happens. It's not necessarily something that the awards groups, they don't necessarily see these types of films, but we'll see what happens. Last year with Sinners and Weapons, so who knows what will happen with this film.
Yeah. I mean, they are doing well, this genre. I mean, for the budget wise, I think it's already made well. For last I heard, 80 times its budget, and then maybe 100 more. I think since the couple of weekends have gone now, but it is 770K was its budget. So it's a good business model for this kind. It doesn't have to be the most original, but if it's executed well, then it seems to be doing quite well. We mentioned Backrooms as well, and I'm sure there's more down the road, but it seems a kind of a good bet currently for smaller budget indie movies almost in this route. So I hope it does well. Right, next. We have a season, I suppose, conclusion and also season ender of long-running comic book Amazon show, The Boys, which I think it's kind of tying up the last, say, 5 years of this. So it's obviously, those not familiar, it's another superhero kind of like genre. But here I'm more looking at the how maybe what behind the scenes of what heroes, or if they're more corporate led and kind of more darker view of things, kind of comedy, very dark comedy at the series, and some great performances from Anthony Starr and Carl Urban, of course, as two opposing heads of the boys who are kind of like trying to police the superhero world. I think we'll just talk about how successful this season is rather than because because those who probably are quite familiar with the
I don't
premise
know.
already. I think we could just talk about how
Yeah.
you found this season because there was a lot to tie up in and how to end a series is always up for debate. I think there's been a bad taste in the mouth with previous properties, but did you find this a satisfying season, Andrew?
I mean, I thought it was all right. I know online a lot of people didn't like the final season because they preferred the earlier seasons. Without getting into specifics and possible spoilers, they also kind of felt that they were kind of focusing more on other projects like the upcoming prequel, Vought Rising.
Yeah.
And so some people kind of felt, well, they're focusing more on this upcoming prequel than on season 5 of this show. They also didn't like that Gen V got canceled, and they kind of were looking forward more to seeing more of those characters, which they didn't really see as much of. And I guess they were looking forward to that. Without going to all that, that's just kind of the sense I got online. And I guess they just didn't like this final season as much.
Yeah.
But me, I liked some of this season. I know I can understand some of the complaints, and it felt like they kind of dragged things out a little bit. Like at a certain point, it's sort of like you kind of build up to something, and then something else happens, and then you just kind of like, well, you spend all this time building up to that, and then you shift to something else. And then, why did you spend all this time building up to that? So
I kind of think it did when you're expecting a bookend to a show, you kind of expect you're not going to waste time. You're going to very much conclude and be very sharp where we're going with each episode. And I did find, well, this season feels like a mid-season run season, as it were. It was.
You have Rising that's coming.
Well, yeah, I know, which is good. I mean, Soldier Boy, as that character's kind of breakout, very very good performance by Jesse.
That's going to have Soldier Boy and Stormfront.
I mean, and it was good to see, like, the Gen V cast, like those two remaining kind of like make their appearance, but then you'd think, oh, they're going to have a play because we're basically going to a climax of a showdown with Homelander, which this is the only direction where we're going. Really, this is
Good.
the
I won't
end.
say what happens. I did like the final episode, and some other episodes I liked, and I thought that some of the actors did a really good job.
Hmm.
I mean, Anthony Starr, as always, does a really great job.
Yeah.
And again, without going into specifics, he does a really great job through that character's storylines. Also, Valerie Curry does a really good job. You didn't really hear as much about her, but playing Firecracker, she gets an episode, and
Yeah.
you realize how good a job that actress did in that role. Because you think like, oh, okay, seeing them's roles, you don't think of what they're like in real life, but you see Valerie Curry and then when you see Anthony Starr, in interviews and realize how different they are than the characters they play, and just how much of a really good acting job they do playing those characters. And
Yeah.
on that note, the real life context of what's going on in the U.S. and how much of it is just a coincidence. It's like you have the character do all these things and say all these things. I'll just say that Homelander does something, he makes a decision, and then he goes with it. And just before that happens, just before that episode, Trump did something.
Yeah, very similar.
Like, do they know? It's just like, and then there's also something with like a golden statue. And then in real life, they had a golden statue down of Trump put up by, I'm not going to go on, sorry.
I know it's been very fortunate with its or unfortunate with its timing
And you
of
realize,
the parallels that you see what's happening, and I think even with the previous season, it was happening, and it was like, oh, so it kind of became almost political satire. This, but to its credit, to most of the shows, it kind of stayed middle of the road, commenting but not falling on a side. But yeah, here just became unavoidable. But it's just as a show, the conclusion. I think maybe the season, yeah. I think yeah, it was a lot to try and tie up a lot. So, but I think maybe yeah, fans really wanna. I want an ending, a proper ending. But when you've got so much side projects going, it seems to distract and deflate maybe this big conclusion finale. But yeah, not my favorite season, but a good ending for Homelander. I'll just say it that it's all kind of like at least they landed that. It could have been bigger. I can't honestly, but I think it did what it could. But yeah, not my favorite, but I'm interested to see maybe what the other shows are. Vault Rising looks interesting. The Boys Mexico could be quite interesting as well, but we'll see, I guess.
and one other thing I wanted to mention is that for fans of the series Supernatural, there's like one bit in particular in one of the episodes
Oh
where
yes, yeah,
Supernatural reunion,
a bit of a reunion there.
and without
Yeah.
spoiling what happens in that episode, the showrunner, I guess he's one of the people on the show behind the scenes, Eric Kripke, he was the original showrunner for Supernatural. I mean, during its early seasons. So what he did for filming this one scene, where it's like a supernatural reunion, is he asked the actors to play the roles a couple of different ways. One is to play them as the characters for this show, and then one is the characters that they played on Supernatural. So if you go online, you can actually see that scene filmed that way, to have those actors play the characters that they did, or play it as if they were playing their characters on Supernatural. So that was kind of funny to watch online, as opposed to what you see on this show, just to play, the characters for this show. So there's a nice little thing for Supernatural fans to kind of watch this and then to catch that online as well. So
Yeah, and that is a fun episode. Actually, it is that actual episode. It is I think one of the series highlights as well.
yeah,
It's Jensen Ackles obviously is Joey Boy, but he kicks it out of the park. So I'll be interested to see what he brings with his show on the Boys Mexico. But yeah, okay. Well, that was the end of that one. So next, the boroughs. I did see the promos. I was trying to see it, but I didn't quite get around to it. But you have seen this, Andrew. This is a show that is on, is it Netflix? A TV
yeah,
show?
it's on Netflix. Yeah.
And it is, from the premise, it's kind of like, is it, I don't know. It's kind of like a mystery. You've got quite a good cast in there. Gina Davis. Bill Pullman, Alfred Molina. Just give us a bit premise of the boroughs because I'm intrigued, but I never got around to it. So,
Oh, right. So it got a lot of attention because one of the producers, not the actual showrunners, but one of the producers or among the producers are the Duffer Brothers. They were the showrunners for Stranger Things. And so in the marketing, and even the show itself, it does have kind of Stranger Things vibes, but maybe a little bit more, maybe not as dark as that. But again, the Duffer Brothers aren't the showrunners for this, unlike Stranger Things. But they're involved, I guess, as producers. And this show does have kind of a retro feel to it, kind of like a Spielberg-ish type thing. Kind of feels like it's a show from the 80s, or it got compared to Cocoon a lot, which was another thing from the 80s. But I guess a short way to kind of describe it is like it's Stranger Things, but instead of having kids as the protagonists, it's retirees or pensioners, as you would say in the UK, as the protagonists. So instead of kids trying to get people to believe them, difficult because they're kids, here it's like people trying to get others to believe them, but they don't believe them because they're older people who may be not right in the head or female or whatever. So basically, the show is there's a main group of characters, but I would say the main character out of all would character Sam, played by Alfred Molina. You see him being dropped off by his daughter and her family at this retirement community called the Burrows. It's, I believe, set in Arizona, in the middle of a desert. And so he gets a chance to meet his neighbors, Bill Pullman, and then other neighbors are played by Alfre Woodward and her husband played by Clark Peters, and then Dennis O'Hare, Gina Davis, you mentioned, and some other people in the community. There's also the security people who you get a chance to meet, and then the owners, the people that run the boroughs. And at first, it seems like a nice community, and Sam, the main character, doesn't want to come there. He's just lost his wife, and she is the one who wanted to stay there, and he's not so sure. He's not really interested in being, in this old person community. He still thinks of himself as being useful. He worked as an engineer. He's retired from that. He doesn't want to be just in the retirement community. And then there's a place in the community for people that are not as neurotypical or high functioning, degenerative disease, a place called the Manor. And so that's something that exists there. So basically what you have is this community, and then you find out some kind of weird stuff that's going on there. And it's up to the people, some of the retirees, to kind of help save the community and save the day, so to speak. But people don't believe them because, they're old people and, they're kind of losing it up there. And why should we believe them? So it's up to them to kind of save the day. So it does have, as I said, very much kind of a retro 1980s vibe set in the present day. So I guess that kind of ties into the whole connection of Stranger Things, not in terms of continuity or anything like that, but just in terms of the vibe that it's going for. So present day, but kind of 1980s vibe. Even the music sounds kind of like John Williams. It's not from John Williams. It's actually from John Paisano, who's actually worked with director Wes Ball quite a bit. So he's going to be working on the music for Zelda as Wes Ball. So yeah, it's definitely very retro, very 80s, very much that kind of thing, fun kind of thing, something fun to watch. People trying to solve this mystery, figure out what's going on, and save the day kind of thing. So very much like a Stranger Things, but not as dark as that. So I liked it, and it's something maybe worth a watch if you get the time. So
okay, right. Next, we're back to the comic book world. Here we have we're rejoining the world of The Punisher. This is John Bernthal returns in a very good portrayed role as The Punisher. One Last Kill, which is on Disney, and it is more like a one-shot kind of like episode or long episode really, or kind of like a movie almost like. So I mean, it's a kind of a basic premise, but it's kind of like we rejoin the Punisher, who's kind of like retreated into the urban, the urban mess in this universe of New York. I think it's New York. So it is very much day to day and going about, and as the world kind of crumbles around him, kind of kicks off maybe that the Punisher should return, and it is kind of like a one set kind of a drama piece, but then it becomes a kind of like a almost a silent kind of like if kind of like a crime vengeance spree almost, but in between a bit of psychology in between. Um, what did you think, Andrew? This you saw this as well. It's almost like a prelude to a series or another series of Punisher, but does it work as its own individual kind of movie? Because it felt like a bit like an elongated, long season premiere of a show, really. What did you think of this show? Like one
Yeah,
shot or
liked it. I wish they had done more with it, but I guess they
mm,
needed it because they kind of well, technically it's a different studio.
yeah, yes, yeah.
Sony spoiled things a little bit because in the trailers for the new Spider-Man movie, you see the Punisher at work. So you kind of are like, well,
Ah, yes.
Punisher is up and about. And when you last saw him at season one of Daredevil Born Again, he's incarcerated. So it's like, well, how does he go from that to, what Sony is showing you? So you kind of need this to kind of bridge that gap of, how does he go from that to that? And he does get mentioned a lot on season two of Daredevil Born Again, but you don't see him. So this is kind of a way to kind of bridge that gap and kind of set up something maybe down the road for Frank Castle and what he's up to. So basically, what happens on this is you don't really see as much of what happened on Daredevil Born Again, but basically what happened on the Punisher series when he went after the people that were responsible for his family's death or deaths, deaths of members of his family. So there's the Anucci crime family. And so Frank Castle has killed people, members of the Anucci crime family. And by doing so, that's kind of left a void in terms of criminal or leadership in this community. And the leadership is just really chaotic. And everything's just really chaotic. And you see Frank Castle walking down the street, and people are just killing each other, going after, attacking people in broad daylight. And police, law enforcement isn't doing anything. You're just going about his business. And things are just really, really in a dark, dark place, just gone off
Mm.
the rails in the neighborhood. So, and Frank is going through his own issues, seeing visions of people that he knows, hallucinations, and still grieving over the loss of his family, going to visit their graves in the cemetery, and he's not really in a good place mentally. And so you're kind of setting up for like this guy's not. It's like a psychological thriller. He's just seeing stuff, hallucinating stuff, and then he sees someone. At first, you think it's a hallucination, and it turns out that it's actually Ma Nucci, and she's basically telling him like, I'm going to go after you for killing the male members of my family. So, and she does that. She makes good on her threat. So the first half of the episode is like Frank being in this not good place mentally, and then the second half in not good place physically, because now he has people who are literally physically coming after him, not hallucinations, but actually coming after him. And he has to do what the Punisher does, goes after them. Very violent. I don't know if it's something Richard would want to see, because the Punisher is the Punisher for a reason. It's not because he likes the skull image. He does what the Punisher does. He punishes them. Not punishing them in the second half of the episode. So it's just this. It kind of reminds me of this. If you've ever seen the Raid Redemption,
Yeah, I was thinking the raid. Yeah.
very much like that, but in the MCU. So it's basically, instead of like that, it's Frank Castle going about this building, a block of flats, going after person, killing this person or that person, or punishing this person, that person. It's just bit by bit, and it's definitely pretty intense. So it's good. It's good. I liked it. I wish I'd
Yeah.
seen more of that character or those characters, but maybe we'll see more down the road.
Yeah, I think the action here is very fluid, and it is that kind of almost, yeah, it takes its
Like,
lead from the raid, very block by block, room by room. I mean his character arc is basically he becomes a Punisher again or reignited and that's it. But I mean we didn't really I mean yeah, he sees things and so just but we kind of already know his trauma. It was not really something we need to revisit again. We kind of know. So it is more just it does feel like maybe you hinted at it is like a filler in just so we can bridge so we can get to the Spider-Man movie which comes out this year. But the action he can still pull it off. It's good. It was one of the darker shows on Netflix as a proper crime drama. If it gets a bit muted, if it does transpire, does get a series on Disney, I don't know. But as an action that which is the latter half of it's interesting and it does the job quite well. But it does feel a bit empty. But we'll see what they do with the character going
Yeah,
forward.
storyline. I mean, without spoiling, I do feel like they're setting up for something down the road with
Yeah.
those characters. So
Yeah. If the writing's there, I
I'll
got.
just leave it at that without, yeah.
Yeah, it's got a lot to live up to. A lot of these Netflix or now Disney shows to their Netflix predecessors, as we've mentioned with Daredevil. So we'll see. Next, a long-awaited movie from another big franchise. Everyone was waiting at the bit for, and it only a few years we had to wait for the a Star Wars movie to hit the cinemas, and of course Disney finger hot on the pulse. It seems with Star Wars, the Mandalorian, and Grogu, which came and went as far as I was concerned a few years ago. But here we are with Mandalorian and Grogu, and here they go on a adventure of after a bounty of Rotter the Hutt, trying to who's given a bounty by his family to bring him back to the fold, and so they do. They
Mm.
explore that, find him, and try and bring him back. And small adventures happen along the way. I know, Richard, you were waiting for this
Yeah,
for
yeah,
ages, as the rest of the world.
yeah,
Star Wars is back
yeah, yeah.
on the cinema.
Yeah, I
How
was
did this
looking for
feel
it.
to you? Now, this was a film, not an episode. It just,
Yeah, yeah, it's good to mention it. Yeah, yeah. Let's not forget that it's supposed to be a movie, not
mm,
a TV, not 3 or 4 episodes mixed up
cut
together.
together. Oh,
No, no,
no,
no, no, no,
certainly
no, no,
not. No,
no,
no.
no. What can I say about this? It's hard to analyze this movie without all the all my background and your background. I know it's
I know.
as a fan of Star Wars.
Well, yes, it's been a
That's the
rough road.
problem. Okay, I'm gonna try forget that I've been loving this franchise for 40 years. I think as a movie itself, I don't think, and I swear I completely forgot about everything that I love about Star Wars. As a movie itself, if I was a grown-up, a 40-year-old or so guy who have never seen Star Wars ever, watching this movie, first of all, good news, you would understand it. You don't need some homework about Star Wars watching this movie. And that's why actually on the posters, you have just a special mention Star Wars, but it's focused Mandalorian and Grogu, you know?
Oh, yes. Oh,
So if you
yes.
watch only the TV show, you would understand the movie. You
Mhm.
still have to watch a TV show, to be fair, because I don't see how you can understand what's going on if you don't watch a TV show. Anyway, because the two main characters are not introduced. It's like you already know them. Now, as a movie itself, I don't think it's good. I mean, it's good for a kid, and I'm not being sarcastic. I think it's a good movie for a kid who is
Yeah.
under 12 years old.
Mhm.
It's good for a parent who goes with a kid. It's a set because it's very safe, like in a good or bad way, depends on how you see it. But it's very safe, a very safe family movie. No risks have been taken. It's just a very childish adventure of a guy and kind of his child facing very not dangerous monsters in the end, but just very almost sometimes funny monsters around the road, and nothing really happens. That's the worst part I can say about it. That's the worst part. Nothing really. That's why I don't like this this idea, but people say, well, it's kind of cool because it's a family movie. It's not for fans. Okay. If it was a good family movie, I mean, there are family movies that are really well done. Coincidentally, I just realized I'm looking up above my computer, and in front of me, there is the poster of the Goonies. That's actually, I didn't plan this. I just realized that the Goonies was a very good family movie in the 80s for kids, especially. All kids of my generation have seen Goonies 10 times.
Oh.
There is no risk take. I mean, there is no danger, real danger for the kids, but you still enjoy the ride all the time. And there is a character development for most of the characters I can see on the poster from the beginning of the movie until the end. It's not an Oscar-winning screenplay, but still, they try to do something, sorry, fun and with good writing for kids and parents. You cannot say that to The Mandalorian and Grogu. It is definitely not well written. There is absolutely, which is surprising for a blockbuster. I know it doesn't cost as much as other Star Wars movies, but still, this cost them 150 million. God damn. There is not one single action scenes, except from the first 15 minutes. There is not one good action scene. That's crazy. Yeah. And again, I'm pretty sure that a kid will enjoy seeing Grogu doing his stuff, especially in the second part of the movie for half an hour. But then what? I mean, you feel like you didn't get anything from your movie experience. That's the worst part, right? That's how I'm gonna finish this thing. I think that the worst thing you can say about Mandalorian and Grogu is that you will not get anything from your movie experience watching this movie.
Yeah.
And that's the worst thing you can say about any movie. I don't think you're gonna feel sadder, more sad, or happier, or more emotional, or whatever. Honestly, it's just like you said, it's just you watch a TV show for an hour and a half, two characters facing monsters, and that's it. There's
Yeah.
literally nothing in this.
I think you're right because with a cinema experience, you're sitting in one sitting. You expect a story where it has a beginning, middle, and end, and therefore something changes or a character changes. Here we kind of start off and end exactly where they began. There's been no change. These characters are not changed. They're not grown. They're not learned anything, really. I mean, Pedro Pascal does appear in this, I'm sure, for 10 minutes where his helmet is off.
This guy is the smartest man in Hollywood right now. I mean, I'm pretty sure that he must have been spent 10 minutes on the set and he made a fortune.
Well, he's staying to character and keeping his helmet on for about 90% of the movie. There is, it is, that's why it does feel like an episodic, because it is like, oh, to be fair, I was expecting the worst, but it is a kind of okay children's film where it kind of like it is safe, entertaining. It is well put together, but it is a very, very, very basic, very safe, as you said, show, which was what this was. It wasn't really a movie, so you're not going to come out feeling satisfied because maybe like you said with the Goonies, you didn't really know what was going to happen. They'll make it to the end, but obviously those characters with Screen 101 writing, they go through a change, they learn something, and you go through that journey with them and you feel satisfied from it. But here it doesn't really happen. So it feels like, well, yeah, it's an episode. Can't wait for the next episode to see what happens. Maybe something happens. In television, you see a change in a season, but here because you've got 3 or 4 episodes in a feature, let's say, it feels like 1 or 2 mid-season episodes
Yeah.
put together. Um,
Yeah, that's so strange, but is that even at the level of a season finale? You know, the season finale of a TV
yeah.
show, they will give everything in an especially I want to have so many things will happen about the main storyline, and there will be a good cliffhanger or whatever. There is none of it. There is absolutely none of it.
This would have worked better as a mini TV series. Why not? If you're going to do it, or a TV film, maybe. But it's just strange. I found it a strange move by Disney to do this, as you know, as a going onto the cinema where I mean, they themselves admit they've got to retool Star Wars if they've got any chance of a direction that they want to try and claw back some kind of echoes of last success if it can. You have a big franchise, you do have a big fan base who have maybe
Honestly,
gone away,
I
but
honestly believe I honestly believe that it's over. But when I'm saying
yeah,
it's
sure.
over, I mean I believe it's over. I feel like I'm talking about something very important. It's only movies. It's only a franchise. I mean,
It's
but
only a
I think
franchise. Yeah.
I think it's over for guys like us of our generation. Honestly, I truly believe that now, and it's
I
fine.
I I believe you. I'm yeah, I
And it's fine, by the way. But
it had a good run, but I think you could with such a big world building, like well, here you've got world shrinkage. Seems everyone
yeah,
knows someone here, which is strange. But I think with Star Wars, I mean, recently they had the more shadowed or TV series, which was very well put together. It's like the opposite of this, and it's an animated show, but looks beautiful, huge world building, huge character depth in a basically animated show. Which strange that you can got writers to do that, and here you just don't know what to do with with characters who are kind of done and dusted, I think. But there is room for exploring that world with different characters and the lore. So possibly, but here I think it's a bit of a dead end or cul-de-sac really with maybe this era which they want to present with Star Wars. But I think next year you've got the 50th anniversary, you've got the re-release of the original Star Wars in 4K untouched. I think it's a nice bookend. I think that will make more money than this. A film from 1977, just to see a good film, really, which is what you want from a theatre experience. And
yeah.
this is not a theatre.
The next real release, let's forget about the release. The next real release will be this Ryan Gosling Starfighter movie.
Which I
And
think is going to feel like a TV show, I think, in my
exactly,
opinion.
it's gonna be like another standalone stuff that honestly I couldn't care less about. But
Well, too bad for you, you couldn't care less, because of course they recently announced that they will be a next trilogy of films as is coming out, and I think the
yes,
writer. So hold on to your hope, Richard.
but I
You
don't
don't
understand.
burn those Star Wars t-shirts yet.
No, but I'm never gonna burn because again, I'm fine with loving this franchise for what it is. But I'm just saying that
Mm-hmm.
the future is definitely not for me. But which is fine. Again, I'm not. I mean, it's just that actually maybe I'm grow too old for this shit. But I don't know. But it's just yeah. Disney perhaps what almost 15 years after the purchase of Lucasfilm by Disney. Maybe we are seeing finally the consequences of this purchase. And again, if Disney is making money out of it, good for them. I'm not even being ironic here. It's a product. They managed to make money out of this. Good for them. It's just that in the end, it's not for me anymore. It's for younger generations who see things that I don't, apparently. So that's fine. But yeah, yeah. For some, again, we mentioned earlier, the exception of Andor was really an exception because, well, I don't know how it happened, to be honest. But I don't think we're gonna get another Andor in the near future. But
I think it's definitely those writers who wanted their little kind of like explore what they wanted to do with that franchise has been done really. So, but I don't know. Maybe the animated is a great seems to give them the latitude of writing and creative freedom, which can generate entertaining stroke interesting stuff. So,
something
I don't know.
very a contradiction, something that thought I would never say, and it's good that it's been recorded. 10 years from now, people are gonna, you guys, if we know each other still, you're gonna use this record against me. But um, I think the future of Star Wars for people of our generation is fan fictions on social media
Ah,
made
yes,
by AI.
yes.
And
It is
that's
interesting.
crazy, but I'm saying that. But because last week has been released, so I can share it not here because I feel like actually I'm betraying myself, but uh, there is a YouTube channel of a guy actually who's been getting better and better And
Yeah.
last week, that guy has released the first part of Star Wars Heir of the Empire
Oh yes, yeah.
adaptation, real adaptation, like live action using AI.
Yeah.
And Heir of Empire is the first book of the Timothy Zahn trilogy that was amazing in the 90s, which is the real sequel trilogy.
Yes.
Um, and
Yes.
honestly, if you watch this, Jason, and anyone actually, if you watch this thing, you think, my God, honestly, my God, this guy is doing literally, I'm not kidding, he's doing better than Disney for me that has done in the last 10 years.
Yeah, well,
And
I have been watching that, and I think because the views alone, but it's been getting scarily better exponentially, or
yes,
even more greater than
and
almost
we are in
like tick
2026. So I
shape.
can't
Yeah,
even
yeah,
imagine what in
yeah.
5 or 6 years gonna be, you know?
Well, I think in months we're talking about, not even years, because it seems
Yes.
to be going so fast. But yes, I've seen them, and with even with new characters, Cal Kestis, they've been put you kind of like in these little episodes, and they've been kind of like yes, if you want to look at what the fans are looking for, if you want to
Yeah,
satisfy
because
them, that is
I
what
thought,
they've been
go ahead.
resonates with them. So like
I,
power to them.
I believed months and months ago. I thought actually that the only way to save Star Wars for me personally, only for me, like they do is for me, would be to adapt all the Legends books in an animated
Yeah, sure.
series.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
animated series, like actually something separate, different universe where the Legends exist. They don't do this, but apparently the fans have the same idea and they're gonna do it online, literally by themselves. And honestly, it's killing it. They're using the footage of the new Admiral Throne and the old footage of Luke Skywalker as Mark Hamill when he was in his 30s and Harrison
Yes.
Ford, etc. And damn it, it works. So
I,
it is extremely scary for the future of cinema and movie and TV, but at least they gave us what we wanted.
yes, indeed. Ironically, that's probably what the image I get from cinema now is. Certainly, we've mentioned in this episode titles, like Backrooms and the kind of the more low or Obsession, even the more lower budget kind of like indie movies that, and even the fan made films. If you've just talked about here, they seem to do doing very well online, and then they seem to translate into cinema going audiences. So maybe the future is there. Who knows? I want to say thanks to Richard and Andrew. If you are running, we do want some more Star Wars stuff. We do have some episodes, obviously, of special deep dives into, well, as I mentioned, Maul and the retrospectives of Star Wars. So you'll look at those episodes on this podcast. But until next time, at home or wherever you are, thank you and see you next time. Goodbye.
We hope you enjoyed this film and TV review.com episode. Catch the latest film and TV reviews, together with regular episode content from the world of film and TV every week. See you soon. Would you like to reach our film and TV review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today.